I'm back. Didn't you miss me? I took an unplanned break over the summer, and I have had a couple of episodes come out since I've been back, but I finally wanted to take the time to address why I took that break, what caused that break, and ultimately dive into the psychology behind feeling the need to be perfect all the time, but finally giving yourself permission to let go and be imperfect. Because as humans, we are allowed to do that. And I think that we forget that sometimes. This episode is ultimately going to be pep talk / story time / just a reminder that growth isn't linear. It doesn't always have to be a trajectory going up, 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 up. There are dips, there are highs and lows, and that's life. So let's get into it. So what happened? I was going through one of the busiest times at my 9-to-5 job. May through July is when all of the most of the state reporting happens, which if you're unfamiliar, I do have a few episodes going into like what I do for work, but essentially my title is Student Information Systems Coordinator for a public school system. So I manage all of the data for that public school district, and I manage our student information system, which is basically our database. I do all of the state and federal reporting, and I'm basically the data girl. My nickname is Data Dana at work. And yeah, so there is a time of year at the very end of the school year and beginning of summer that all of the state reporting opens up, and it is the absolute most chaotic, craziest, busiest time of the year because you have 4 or 5 major reports due, numbers that you can't pull until all of the students end and all of the grades are actually posted. Meanwhile, you have teachers and secretaries and administrators having problems with the system or report cards or grading or closing out the school year in general, and it's chaos. And then the second half of the summer is spent preparing for the new school year, which is a whole nother set of chaos. But essentially, I was hit with this chaos and didn't really anticipate it or expect it so fully, but I ended up in a position where there were many June and early July nights where I would work all day, 8 hours, and then come home and have a quick snack and then keep working on my laptop until legit 11 o'clock, 12 p.m. and then go to sleep for a few hours and wake up and do it all again. And I am very pro work-life balance. I have never been about my job consuming me or my life. Been very strict about not checking email when I'm not at work and things like that. But it did get to the point where I had so much going on that I literally had to, or the reports weren't going to get done and our school system wasn't going to get funded. And at that point, like, I'm not even going to have a job anymore. Like, I have the responsibility to complete these, and there's issues that come up. There's data that's missing or that needs to be cleaned. There's errors when you submit the report. Like, it's endless, and I'm not even going to get into the weeds about it, but it was very, very overwhelming. And I kind of got into this headspace where my whole life was work, and I think that I was pissed off over that as well because I live for the summertime. I live in New England, and so, like I've said before on this podcast, we get like 2 months of nice weather, and then the rest of the year is just cold, and I hate the cold. So I really look forward to the summer. I fantasize about the summer all winter, and then the summer comes, and it's just the absolute busiest time of the year to the point where I can't even get out of work and like go enjoy the summer weather. So all of this combined, the due date, quote unquote, that I've, set for myself and for this podcast came and went. I post episodes once every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. And about a week before I had an episode due, I knew that I had nothing recorded. I knew that I had nothing outlined. I knew that I had no ideas. And somewhere inside of me, I was like, I'll get it done somehow. And I just didn't. That Wednesday came and went. I remember the Tuesday before, I still had this weird hope where I was like, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's 5 p.m. on Tuesday before the episode is due at midnight. And I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. When you don't have a plan, nothing gets figured out. You can't just say you're going to figure something out. You have to actually make a concise plan to figure it out. And I had no plan to schedule to schedule time to record an episode, no plan to edit it, which is very time consuming, no plan for any of it. So it didn't get done. And so once that first week went by that I didn't post an episode, it was very disappointing. I was very disappointed in myself. And I think because of that, I started to just give up on myself. And what happened was another 2 weeks went by and the same situation happened. But I was more like, oh, well, I couldn't stick to my schedule once anyways, so what's another week missing an episode, This honestly put me in a really bad mental space because not only was my job consuming all of my time, but it was also taking away from the hobbies that I have curated for myself, for self-expression and a place to be creative and explore something outside of my job and create something for myself. And that this podcast, a lot of this is showing up for myself through helping others and through talking to you and sharing my stories and my advice and just my life experiences. And I kind of just threw all of that away, or felt like I did, after I missed an episode and then a second episode. And so I kind of just started to give up. I never fully gave up on the podcast entirely and was like, oh, I'm just not going to podcast anymore. But I was just like, well, who cares anyways? Because this isn't a widespread podcast. I mean, I get a few listens, but it's not like anyone's like popping their popcorn at 11:59 on Tuesday nights and like waiting for my new episode to drop on Wednesday at midnight. So I don't know, I kind of just, and then I started to get in my own head about doubting things like that. Like, no one even listens, like, who cares? And none of that even aligns with my original purpose and mission statement for this podcast. I did a bunch of self-exploration about a year before starting this, and I asked myself the question, what could I do and have nobody know about it, nobody see it, nobody hear it, and for me, still enjoy it? And this was one of those things. I enjoy talking and sharing my ideas, and I guess it does, make more sense if someone's listening to it, but it's a form of creativity, of writing the outline, and all day I'm thinking of ideas or something will inspire me and I'll write it down and I'll be like, oh, I want to talk about that and, share my take on that. And so it doesn't even matter how many listens I get on this. So I don't even know why I was getting in my head over that. I was just overthinking for no reason, and it continued this loop. And one day, I want to say it was mid-July or maybe early July, I was hanging out with one of my close friends, and she asked me, she was like, how's your podcast been? And I was just like, it has not been the greatest. I just got really busy at work and I haven't posted an episode in a few weeks now, and I kind of just feel bad about it, and I'm gonna figure it out. I just don't know when. And then she said, yeah, I kind of noticed on Instagram that you hadn't posted a reel recently, because every time I post an episode, I have a little clip of like a key moment in the episode through a reel that's put on Instagram. And her saying that sparked something in me, like, wow, someone noticed. As sad as that sounds, but it's like I took a break for 4 weeks and someone noticed. And it kind of gave me like that fire again. I was like, shit, I need to get going. Like, I need to get off my ass and like do something. Like, my job needs to like chill out. And at this point, I mean, I wasn't up until 11 a.m. with my job every night, but I think it just got to the point where it was overwhelming my life and I was drained of all of my creativity. So I didn't like, yeah, that sounds great to record a podcast episode, but I don't know what to talk about. Like, what do you want me to tell you about my Excel spreadsheets all day? Because I can talk about that all day. So anyways, I ultimately ended up looking at the calendar at that point and realized that I was about to go on vacation. And I am very, very strict with my vacation time, that it will be as restful as possible. And so I didn't want to be jumping back into things right before that trip and like making it this impossible goal for myself to record 3 episodes and edit them all and schedule them all before my vacation. And I also didn't want to set myself up to come back home right from vacation and have an episode due right away. So I just made the executive decision to delay coming back until after my vacation. And I made a post on Instagram saying something along the lines of, I've been away, just been burnt out. I will be back. I don't know when, but I will be back, just taking a short break to mentally recharge. LOL. Happy summer. I am really proud of that post because I specifically didn't give a date that I would be back. And that was hard because for me, I work on timelines. I work on being perfect and showing up perfectly. And listen, if you're going to have a successful podcast, you do need to be doing that. You do need to be consistent. You do need to post a hell of a lot more than I do. But I am only one person, and this podcast is not my full-time job. This is my passion and hobby and joy that I work on the side right now. So ultimately, I didn't have to give a date, and I'm sorry to anyone if that was difficult or you missed me so much that you just couldn't stand it. But I had to do that for myself, and it really helped because I didn't feel this pressure of, well, I'm resting now, but I told them all I'd be back by the 19th of August, you know? And when I was ready to come back, I was able to do it on my time and ease back into it and flow back into it. And I think that was really important for my sanity, my energy, and my creativity. Now, when I actually took this break and finally freed myself from the thoughts that I needed to just push through and just keep posting and recording, once I freed myself from that and officially posted that post that I was taking a break, the break itself was glorious in a way that I can't even describe. Well, I'll try to describe. It was like this invisible weight was lifted off my shoulders. And listen, my podcast isn't like that much of a weight, but I think anyone who has any sort of creative project in your life, like, you understand that it still takes blood, sweat, and tears. You enjoy it, you love it, and it doesn't feel like work because it's your passion. However, it still takes blood, sweat, and tears. Just like if you have a garden, if gardening is your passion, you're still getting down on your knees and like dirt under your fingernails and weeding and, you know, all that. I'm not a huge, well, I'd love to garden more, but I do not have my own garden, so I can't really get into all the details of that. Anywho, I found more creativity and a bigger reserve of energy once I just gave myself that permission to just not be perfect, to just be imperfect, to screw up and not be consistent with the podcast, because I am so consistent with a gazillion other things in my life that it was honestly freeing to just be like, you know what? I am a busy girl. I am a very busy girl, and it is okay. It is totally okay that I needed a break. And it's also okay that I didn't post about it for the first like month of the break, you know? And it's also okay that I didn't give a date that I'm coming back, because I will be back. And when I'm back, I'll be back better than ever. And that is actually how I am now. I have episodes planned out. I'm excited about the topics I'm going to talk about. I have all of these ideas. They're just flowing. Like, I just have like journals filled with ideas. I'm so excited. And it literally took, I don't know the exact dates, but I think I was gone for the month of July. I think it was the full month of July, maybe a week into August, but really wasn't that long, you know? And next time, I think I'm going to plan for needing kind of a break, you know? People do that. People take breaks from podcasts and announce it, and I will try my best to announce it in the future. Maybe I'll be imperfect again. Who knows? That's okay. But I will try to account for that in the future. But now I know, you know, and that's what's important. If I had never tried, if I had never put myself out there with this podcast, if I had never allowed myself to be imperfect with this break, I would have never known that I end up, you know, needing a timeout after so long. So it's important to try things to kind of like see what sticks and see what changes that you need to make in your life to make something more efficient and effective. I think the hardest thing for us, meaning you and me, is that we think that if we've messed up once, we've failed completely. And it's just not the case. I heard a quote recently. I might botch it a little bit because I don't have it right in front of me, but it was something along the lines of, if you were 4 failures away from accomplishing your goal, how fast would you want to fail? And that really puts things into perspective. Like, if you had 4 more failures, how fast would you want to fail? How fast would you want to put yourself out there, figure it out, fail, learn from it, do it again? You know what I mean? Pretty damn fast, right? Because then you'll be at your goal. That is super important. Like, failure is just a part of life, and I'm learning that in this life. And I think it's just honestly basic psychology. I mean, who wants to fail? No one. But we just have to accept it somehow, whatever way. That quote actually gave me a lot of peace and just stillness, because it's like, we can't see the future. And I think that's something that's very hard for me, is not being able to see the fruit of what you're watering now. It's like, well, I know that it makes sense logically that if I put all of this work into something, that it's going to be fruitful and bloom into something, but it's very hard when you just don't see the fruit yet, you know? It's like, is the fruit coming or not? But letting go of that control is important. Trusting and falling into the trust of God's plan is very important. And just allowing yourself to be imperfect and listening to your body and your mind and your heart and your soul, literally, because you know yourself best and you know when you need a break. Even if your mind is telling you, keep pushing through, keep pushing through, keep pushing through. I got to the point where it wasn't healthy for me to keep pushing through. I needed to just sit in the grass and stare at a tree for days after work, just to start to feel a hint of creativity and aliveness again, okay? And sometimes that's okay. And only you will understand that, and only you will understand what that means for yourself. It's just like if you're sick and someone doesn't believe that your cold is as bad as it really is. Like, you know that it's bad. You know that you need to call out of work and lay in bed all day and drink juice and watch movies, and then that will make you feel better, because rest is important. It's really, really important. And I think sometimes we feel the need to even be perfect with our rest. To be perfect in the sense where it's like, I'm going to make sure everyone knows that I need a rest, and I'm going to plan it, and I'll rest in a week, and I'll do it for a couple of hours, and then I'll be rejuvenated and I'll be fine, and it'll all be good. But sometimes it comes out of the blue. And we've experienced this before, right? Like, shit happens. Like, someone gets really sick and has to go to the hospital, or just something major happens in your life, and it's like the world stops and you have to deal with that. It's the same situation when you get to the point where you just need a break. You need to deal with that. And sometimes it comes out of the blue. Sometimes burnout just hits you like a train, and you have to deal with that, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. And even right now, like, I want to counteract myself and be like, well, but if you run a successful podcast, then you really should be letting people know. And yeah, but you know what? If I was running a big, successful podcast and that was my full-time job, I would have an assistant. And it would be one text to that assistant, and the marketing team, and then this and the that would be all over social media. They'd be posting reruns of old episodes to keep the podcast alive. They'd be telling everyone I'm on a break, and I wouldn't have to do a thing. So that's the difference. That's the difference. And I'm working towards building a success like that where you're at that point. But while I do it, God damn it, I'm not perfect. I'm not. And neither are you, and no one is. So you just have to let go, and you just have to give yourself permission to rest when you need it, when you know you need it. Consistency is important, but self-compassion always matters more. I also love 2 Corinthians 12:9, which says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And ultimately, that means that God's strength is most evident and effective when we actually acknowledge our own limitations and then rely on Him. When we say out loud, verbally, God, I can't do this on my own anymore. Like, I need you to hold me. Like, I admit I'm weak. I'm fallen. I'm broken. I need you. And it's not about like boasting in our weakness and just being like, oh, I can't do it, I'm just going to give up. But just recognizing that in our vulnerability, God's power can work through us, and it can bring glory to Him, because it gives Him an opportunity to lift you up and to work in your life in an even deeper way. And that's just really important to me. That kind of came to me the other day where I was just like, had one of those moments where I was like, God, I can't do this all on my own. Like, I need you. And He always comes through. He really does, if you trust in Him and give your heart to Him. If you've been sitting here and you're like, yup, like, felt that, been there, done that, I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. First of all, where have you been holding yourself to an impossible standard? Where has it been? What impossibility are you putting on yourself? What weight are you carrying on your shoulders that you don't need to? And secondly, ask yourself, is there something you've been beating yourself up over instead of giving yourself grace? It's so easy for us to just hate ourselves and get so mean, like a mean girl vibes towards ourselves. Like, we are the only people that we have until the day we die, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's you and your consciousness, and obviously God, if you have a relationship with God or a higher power or the universe, and obviously friends and family, but like ultimately you in your body. You are the only person who understands you completely. You are the only consciousness in your body, and the only person who will be there through the journey of dying. Like, not to get existential and deep and everything, but we should not be so mean to ourselves. We really shouldn't. It's so sad if you think about it. You have to give yourself grace and just realize, like, even in the craziest of situations, like, try to find a way to give yourself grace. Not an excuse for your actions, but just being like, you know what? This shit's been hard, and I love you. Meaning yourself. I love me. And just by doing that, it's like, I feel even better right now. It's just like giving yourself like a warm hug. It is okay to pause. It's okay to not finish something on time. And it's okay to not have a plan for the comeback yet. Give yourself those permission slips in your life. I'm going to repeat those. It's okay to pause. It's okay to not finish something on time. And it's okay to not have a plan for the comeback yet. Just rest in that. I want you to know that life is not a checklist. It's a journey. I know I love, 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 love my to-do list, but it's just, it will always be there. Something I actually listened or heard on an episode that Mel Robbins did once with, it was some expert, I don't remember her name, but this expert was talking about daily chores and how they're always happening. Like, you can do the dishes, but then once you eat dinner, there's more dishes to do, you know? And she was talking specifically about the laundry and how people hate the laundry so much because it's never ending. And it's this constant cycle. So you can never say, oh, the laundry's done, because the laundry is never done. And it's this constant loop of dirty clothes, and you're wearing clothes, you have clothes in the dirty basket, you have clothes in the washer, you have clothes in the dryer, you have clothes sitting in your closet. And it's just this loop of some are dirty and then they go into the wash and then you take them out and then you fold them and then they end up in your closet and then you're wearing them. And it's never done. So that reminds me that life isn't a checklist. It's a journey. You're never going to have the laundry done. You're never going to have the dishes done. These are cycles and loops and just a part of life and this experience. And so you don't have to be perfect. You just have to get done what you got to get done, especially when you're having a moment where you just need a little bit of rest. And more importantly, you are not broken because you need rest. I know that this culture and world that we live in is really all about hustle culture and just working, grinding. And I am really all about that. I mean, I do a lot. But it doesn't, the culture, the world we live in doesn't show much of the reality of like humans aren't made to just be on every single second. Like, there is rest. We need that rest. We need to replenish. And if you don't, you end up with burnout. And I can do a whole another episode on burnout because, whew, baby, have I been there a few times. And also, progress still counts, even if it's slow or inconsistent. It still counts. I am still working on this podcast, you know, even though I took off a month and didn't post about it right away and screwed up, quote unquote, in that sense. I'm still making progress. I'm still here. That whole time I was still thinking about episodes and things, you know, once I was able to rest a little bit. So I'm back, but also obviously still human and figuring things out. And I can't promise that I won't take another break. Like I said before, I'll try my best to give a warning. But if I don't, I don't. And it is what it is. I am actually going into my master's program this fall for my MBA. And I'm very excited about that. And I've done some work to try to plan some episodes ahead of time to, you know, work on that. But I don't know what that workload's going to look like, you know? I've been through school many years. I've never been in graduate school, so that'll be interesting. I'm still working full time. I still have other part-time jobs, and I'm still the union president at my job. So I have a lot of commitments and responsibilities, but this is a priority of mine as well, this podcast. It's my outlet and it's my place where I can talk to you and share ideas and just be creative, and I love that. If you've been waiting for a sign that it's okay to let go of the pressure and just be real, this is it. This is your sign. You're doing way better than you think. If you enjoy this podcast, please feel free to leave a comment or give it a like or follow it. It's available pretty much anywhere that you can stream podcasts: Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. I feel like I'm forgetting a few, but that's okay. I'm imperfect. So new episodes every other Wednesday. I also have an Instagram for this podcast. It's called The Lot of It Podcast. And I post some updates and reels. And on that account, you can always message me, DM me, ask a question, really anything. I'm always open to talking to you guys and taking episode ideas and hearing what you have to say. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.